In this video, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating and sometimes shocking world of evolutionary discovery. But here's the twist. We're not just talking about any discoveries. We're uncovering the top 10 false evolutionary claims that once had the world convinced, only to be debunked later. And the best part? Christian apologists had their doubts from the start. And as you'll see, they were right to be skeptical. So buckle up as we unravel these tales of scientific errors, hoaxes, and the truth that eventually came to light. Let me kick things off with one of the biggest scientific hoaxes in history, Piltdown man. Discovered in 1912, this so-called missing link between the apes and humans fooled the scientific community for decades. But why were Christian apologists hesitant to accept it? They pointed out the suspicious lack of similar findings and questioned its authenticity. And guess what? In 1953, it was revealed to be a complete fraud. A human skull combined with an orangutan jaw. This discovery misled science for over 40 years, but the skeptics were right all along. Next up, we have Nebraska man, a discovery that started with just a single tooth. A tooth that some claimed was evidence of a new primate species and perhaps a crucial link in human evolution. But Christian apologists were quick to criticize this leap. How could a single tooth prove so much? And here's where it gets interesting. The tooth wasn't from a human ancestor at all. It belonged to a peccary, a pig-like animal. This mistake even made its way into the infamous Scopes trial, but it serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of jumping to conclusions. Then there's Archaeoraptor, the fossil that was supposed to be the missing link between dinosaurs and birds. Discovered in 1999, it seemed like the perfect piece of the evolutionary puzzle, well, until it wasn't. Apologists were cautious, noting the rush to publicize this find. And their skepticism was validated when the fossil was, in fact, exposed as a composite, a mix of different species, including a bird and a dinosaur. What's the lesson? When something seems too good to be true, it often is. Now, Java man is another fascinating case. Discovered in 1891, it was hailed as a direct ancestor of modern humans. But Christian apologists urged caution, pointing out the fragmentary nature of the evidence. And as further research showed, they were right to be skeptical. Java man turned out to be part of a side branch of the human family tree, not a direct ancestor. It's a powerful reminder that even major discoveries can be misunderstood. Next, imagine the excitement of discovering what could be the oldest European human ancestor, only to find out years later that it was actually part of a donkey skull. This is the story of Orce man, a discovery made in Spain in 1982. Christian apologists were quick to point out the dangers of over-interpreting such limited evidence, and once again, their skepticism was validated. Orce man serves as a cautionary tale about the challenges of fossil interpretation and the importance of peer review. Now let's talk about Neanderthal DNA. Early studies suggested minimal interbreeding with modern humans, but apologists were convinced, raising concerns about the reliability of these findings, and rightly so. Later analysis revealed that some of the results were contaminated with modern human DNA. This contamination complicated our understanding of human-Neanderthal relation, proving that the apologists' caution was well-founded. Hesperornis was initially thought to be a smooth transition between dinosaurs and modern birds, a key piece of the evolutionary puzzle. But once again, Christian apologists were skeptical, arguing that this bird-like dinosaur might not be the direct ancestor it was claimed to be. And as it turned out, Hesperornis was a highly specialized species, not a direct ancestor of birds. It's another example of how initial interpretations of fossil evidence can lead us astray. Now, let's take a detour into the world of outright hoaxes with the Cardiff giant, a petrified giant unearthed in 1869. This giant wasn't just a fossil, it was a fraud, carved from gypsum by a man named George Hall. He did it to challenge biblical literalism. But Christian apologists saw through it almost immediately. The Cardiff giant became one of the most famous examples of a fraudulent fossil, reminding us all to be wary of too good to be true discoveries. Now, Trachodon was one of the first dinosaurs ever described, but its story is one of mistakes and misunderstandings. Initial reconstructions were widely inaccurate, incorrect digit numbers, and a misunderstood skull structure. Apologists argue that these frequent changes in reconstruction reflected the uncertainty and speculation in evolutionary science. Now, over time, as the Trachodon's image was repeatedly revised, it became clear that the skeptics had a point. And finally, we have Peking Man, a discovery from the 1920s that was once heralded as a crucial link in human evolution. But once again, Christian apologists were cautious, noting the limited fossil evidence and speculative interpretations. Their skepticism proved correct. When the original fossils disappeared during World War II, all that was left were casts and interpretations that have been debated ever since. Peking Man's story highlights the complexity of human evolution and the need for a careful, critical approach. So, what can we learn from these stories? Each of these false evolutionary discoveries reminds us of the importance of skepticism, critical thinking, and ultimately the pursuit of truth. Christian apologists, often portrayed as being anti-science, were right to question these. What's important, though, is their caution wasn't about rejecting science, but about demanding better evidence. As we've seen, in the end, their skepticism was not only justified, it was crucial in unveiling the truth. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it enlightening.